This is great.
Good morning, everybody. I know there's more people coming in from the outside because we just ran a little bit late on our 8:15 service. But I want to bring Kate Williams, the Executive Director of Christian Assistant Bridge. She's our speaker for our Hope Sunday number 3. We have, last year we signed a partnership with CAP. We signed up to be an official partnership. We have always contributed and sent canned goods for different events that we have. We do Stuff-A-Bus, which on the back of the flyer has items for Christian Assisted Bridge. At Christmas time we do Advent food boxes, and that goes to Christian Assisted Bridge. I just saw that our Child Development Center also collected items for Christian Assisted Bridge, so they sent over, I don't know if they came on the bus or not, but I think the kids went and delivered food. The Boy Scouts, I believe, the troop that is associated with our church, they do a collection in February, and their items get sent. So we've always contributed, but last year we became a partnership, and I have a commitment for this year also. So I'd like to introduce Kate Williams from Christian Assistant Bridge, and she's going to bring us up to date on what's going on there.
Update.
Yeah.
So last time I came up here, I think so much. My alternator had gone out in my car on the interstate in Atlanta, and I was left completely like dead in the road. And then so I was struggling. And this time we took a whole bunch of plane rides, and I came back from vacation with 2 ear infections, a throat infections, and swimmer's ear. So I'm like top notch for this church. And I'm almost scared if y'all invite me back next year. Like what I'm going to bring to the table. So I'm kind of like in and out on my hearing situation here. So if I ask you to repeat yourself, that's fine. I've been at CAP maybe 8 years now. I was just telling them that the whole time I've been at CAP, y'all have had construction out here. So it's been very weird to come to church today and not have like a million cones and figure out how to turn. That's been great. We've seen a whole lot of change in Blythewood since I've been there. This is the first year since COVID that we have not expanded our food giving out substantially. So starting in COVID, it's been almost double every year, and we've been struggling to keep up. This was the first year that we're pretty much on par. We'll give out probably 5,000 to 10,000 pounds of food more than we did last year. But that's a good sign. With that said, SNAP benefits are supposedly changing, and there's a lot of different things going to be going on. So I'm thinking this will be a short-lived breather. But I'll let you know. So I think SNAP benefits, the governor said something about signing in requirements for no sugary drinks, no unhealthy stuff, which for someone who works at a food pantry, I support this. But that just means that there will be a learning curve to parents and how they cook. And so while that learning curve comes about, they'll be coming to the food pantry more, I predict. So it's just like we cook just like our mom cooks, right? And so if your mom cooked with canned vegetables and then someone gives you fresh green beans and you're just like, what do I do with this? What is this? Do I just throw them in the pot, jump it in the microwave? So there's always a learning curve. And so for most of our SNAP benefits folks, there is definitely going to be a learning curve. So they'll be coming in. So it'll be short-lived. But it's been nice. This past year we had, Hurricane Helene? And most of the folks that were donating to us did food drives and supply drives for Hurricane Helene, so the schools, which means we didn't have as much food coming into us, and our shelves were bare fairly early compared to years past. And how God is just so amazing is we had a surplus of $5,000 or $6,000 that we did not touch the year before, and we were able to go shopping and grocery shopping with that money to provide food. So it's like whenever there's a dip in one area, God provides, and we can make it work. But we went in, we spent a lot of money on food, as far as the food thing is concerned. Right now, where food is looking really good, I went on vacation and I left my credit card. And some of my people at work are good with my credit card, and then others are like your teenage daughter, I just hope they don't use it. And I was like, this is for emergencies, break glass. And I'm looking at them like break glass, because they were my teenage daughter volunteer. And when I came back, they did not have to touch my credit card at all, and my shelves were full. And people had just come in and donated, and some of y'all's groups had come in and donated. And our shelves looked great, and they were bragging to me how they didn't have to touch. It was my call. I was like, please. So that's been a huge blessing. It's been neat to have volunteers that love our clients so much that when I'm on vacation, I know they're going to be taken care of. So we've had a busy year. Lots of families with kids. So 2 years ago, I would have said the majority of our clients are senior adults. We hit that time where rent skyrocketed. So you had $850 rent, and then you went up to $1,250 a month, and their Social Security was about $1,200. So 2 years ago, I would have said the majority of our clients are senior adults. Clients, people that you would not assume would be in the food pantry, they were in the food pantry. This year, it seems like I've got a lot of big families in, and I don't know why the shift. Maybe it's the new housing developments, more apartment complexes opened, but I am seeing a little shift of bigger families. So that's been kind of neat to see. Also, bigger families eat more food. So there's that switch too. But it's just been neat to see how Blythewood is growing, how it's changing, and then how our churches are kind of meeting those needs. So we have a senior adult program that we do box food every month, and one of our churches takes on that group on a Wednesday. Mainly because if they come when we're open, it's a transaction, because we have so many people coming on one day. That this church decided to open up on a different day so they could kind of make sure that they were building relationships. And that's been a huge success. They know the names of each client, they know the kids, they know whose doctor's appointment's coming up and what's going on. Last Sunday, one of our clients actually went to church with one of the people that invited them from CAB. So that's been, the relationships that are being built is one of our biggest successes. So it's easy for someone to say, I need something, and you to give it to them. You saying, I go to Living Springs and I go to the 8:15 service and I sit on the third row from the back. Anytime you want to come, why don't you come? Oh, and I can pick you up. That's a one step further. And our volunteers are starting to really own that one step further. And it's been really neat to see them come in on a Monday or Thursday and tell me about clients that they saw and hung out with the previous week. So that's been, it's been neat as a director, just to kind of see everyone kind of owning their mission part. And then, of course, we've got our babies and our kids. We usually send our mothers to the diaper bank, but we do have diapers that we can give them. And then we send them to the diaper bank downtown so that they can get a lot of diapers at once. So there's a lot of partnerships that go on that we can refer them to. A lot of our volunteers that meet with clients, they know what services are good right now, what services are bad. So you read on what we do, right? But we read, we get to talk to the client that went to that organization and how they got treated. And so that's been a success because we've been able to tell them, yeah, you could go to this shelter, but this other shelter has better resources for you. And so we've been doing a lot of referrals, a lot of partnerships with our folks. A few things that we started a few years ago was the helping the schools. We've put more money in the school line item. So I said last year, a lot of our kids were living in hotels, and we were trying to figure out how to move them out of hotels. But how do you figure out what parent just wants a free month in an apartment and what parent really is ready to get back on their feet? That was our dilemma. And so we started partnering with Richland 2 social workers, and they vet the parents for us. And then when they're ready to move out of the hotels, the social worker will let us know this person's ready to move out. They've been doing everything they need to do. Can you help? And then we'll look at our line items, see how much we have in it, and see how much we can do. And that has been a huge success. For those of you who do not know, Richland 2, I don't know about Richland 1 because I don't work with them. Richland 2 has phenomenal social workers. They are actually degreed social workers. They really care about the students and the parents. And they don't take advantage of us. So like, if I said I have $20,000, typically everyone's like, okay, well my parent needs it, my parent. They do not. They save that money for who really is ready. So that's been remarkable. Each year we've been testing the waters and putting more money each year in it. And I love that line item. Lots of mattresses that we've done, lots of mattresses. Mattress Warehouse, big deal, Mattress Warehouse on Two Notch. Mark and I are on first name basis. But there's lots of mattresses that have been going out, and lots of first time apartment folks that are moving in. We've helped a lot of ladies that are in abusive situations that are newly single move into their first apartment. The shelter situation for abused folks in our area is very difficult if you have kids. You have to be out of the shelter at 6 a.m. and you can't come back sometimes until 6 p.m. Well, school doesn't start until what, 7:20? How do you get them there? It's a lot. Just the logistics of a shelter. And so they normally move into a hotel. The hotel is about $70 a night. If you get extended, you get a little discount there. You can't get on your feet to get an apartment, if that makes sense. So if you're spending that money, and then let's say the apartment says you need 2 months down payment, rent at this place that's not that great is $980. That takes a lot for a woman that may not even have access to her previous money earned. And so we've done a lot of that. We have partnered with South Carolina Legal. We've sent a lot of people over there. We have sent a lot of people over to Sister Care. And we have physically walked people over to the police department to make reports, and then the magistrate's office to file suits. So we can't tell them what to do. We can just be there to, as they do all the paperwork, and give them the resources and hope that they make the right decision, whatever that is. So one lady I had 4 months ago, maybe, yeah, I think about 4 months ago. She came in, and they came and got me and said, this lady needs prayer and she needs more help than I can give, one of my counselors. So I went in there and I listened to her, and she was swelling because she had been beat pretty bad. And she didn't know what to do, and she was embarrassed. Her kids were in the room, and her kids witnessed all this go down. And she was just scared to death. And one of the things she says, I just don't want to die. What do I have to do not to die? And that was just so heart-wrenching. And we walked her through all this stuff. She wasn't ready to tell her parents, and that's the one we walked over to the police department, and we sat with her at the magistrate's office and did all the runaround that we needed to do until she was comfortable enough to call her mom. And typically that means when you've been abused the first couple of times, like you're just been abused, you're embarrassed. After you tell that story a few times, it's easier to say it next time. So by the time we were finished, she was on the phone to her mom. And so we helped her out, and then we helped her with, I think, a week or two in a hotel while she figured out her next steps. And that way she would remain safe. She didn't feel safe at her mom's house because the abuser knew where mom lived. And so just taking that time to listen to her. Nothing else matters at that point. We've got nowhere to be. When you're ready, we can go walk to the police officer. If you don't want to do that, we don't have to. That's kind of what we're there for. We do give out food. We love food. But that is just a way that we can get a part of their lives to figure out how we can actually make the difference. And so she's doing good. She is actually a student, a nursing student. And she is doing better now. She's healed up, and she came back and visited us just to say thank you and let us know where the process was. I've never been more frustrated when I called the police officer and asked him how we go about doing this process, because I realized the runaround that a woman gets. And that was extremely frustrating to hear them say, well, did anyone see it? And I was like, does it matter? You know? But if I was the abused person on the phone, I would be like, well, do my kids count? Maybe they don't count. And then I would have hung up, right? So it's interesting to be on the other side and kind of see the process in which logically we know how the process works, right? We know if you're attacked, you go to the police officer, right? We know logically how it works, but actually when you go through the steps and see how you're treated, it was a little frustrating. So that's kind of my folks. Another folks that y'all helped with that one line item was we had a teacher that took in a disability child. And so she said she could take the child in. It was one of her students. But because of his severe disabilities, he had to have a $10,000 bed, hospital bed kind of thing. Obviously, we're not going to spend $10,000 on a bed, neither was she. But she said if she had this bed, she could take the child in. And one of our board members found a bed on Facebook Marketplace for $700 and went and picked it up. And I was like, I need pictures. So if you've worked in nonprofits, you know you need a trail of where the money went. I'm like, I need pictures with the bed. I need pictures of you handing money over to them. But they were able to get this bed to her, in which she was able to take in her student, and now her student's living with her. Which, I mean, like, how amazing are teachers?
Amen.
Like, they're just, like, talk about going above and beyond, not only to be teaching children with disabilities, but also to, like, figure out what they need in their home life and then make it all happen. I mean, if we could just be a small part of that. So that was a huge blessing. And then maybe 2 weeks ago, you know when you go on vacation, time kind of like is weird. So I think right before I went on vacation, it was about 2 weeks ago, we had a homeless lady that had 2 kids and was disabled. And our counselor sat with this woman for 2 hours, calling all kinds of the homeless shelters and figuring out what would work for her. The key part was the disabled part. Where do you go if you are disabled? How do you get out of the shelter for 9 hours? Where do you go? How do you get your kids to school? Like it's an issue. And so what they ended up finding out is they could get a camper, and she could have a camper and live in a camper. And so through the whole community working together, this lady has a camper and a campsite and is taking care of her child that way, her 2 children. Her 2 children haven't had their own bed ever. And so that was neat. They found out that they were going to have their own bed. And she was ecstatic to have a camper. Like, sometimes we're like, oh my goodness, we're not providing enough for our children. We didn't take them on the right vacation, or we didn't sign them up for guitar lessons because they have soccer lessons. And when you see a lady who's so excited about a camper, or a used camper and a campsite, that she doesn't have to stay in a shelter anymore, is phenomenal. That same counselor, when picked her up, put her in a hotel room for a week while they were figuring all this out, the logistics of it. Put her in a camper, or put her in a hotel room, picked her up the next day for Sandy Level Baptist Church. Are y'all familiar? They do Trisha's Trunk, which is the clothing store. And so she went and picked her up, and they went and got clothes, and then they picked up school supplies for the kids for school. And then the following week, they went and registered for school where school was going to be in the campsite. And then let the social worker know that she falls under the McKinney Act, which provides a few other assistance for homeless youth. So it's just like one step further. Some of our clients, they come in and they take 20 minutes. And then others, you're with them for a good week or 2 until they don't need you anymore and they're on their feet. So those 2 girls will start school tomorrow. So it's just really exciting to kind of see things happen, right? Like to see a need, meet the need, and then see them on the other side. And so I'm really excited to be able to see them at the end of the year and see where they're at. But the mother, when I talked to her, was worn down. She had little to no hope. You could tell she had told her story a million times. And it seemed like this was just another story, and she knew that we weren't going to be able to help. And at the end of the visit, to be able to we might have a solution was really neat. This same counselor that saw this one that went above and beyond, many years ago, she had an ongoing client, and the landlord was ridiculous, and it was not good. She was blind. She had a lot of issues. And her husband ended up buying a trailer so that they could be her landlord, and they could be better landlords than and then after 2 years, I think, of doing that, they decided they didn't really like being landlords. And they just gifted her the whole trailer. They figured that could make her, give her more stability. She didn't have to pay rent. So we have amazing volunteers that really get invested in our kids' lives, or our people's lives, and then they call me with these crazy plans. And I'm like, that sounds terrible. There's a whole bunch of wrong that can happen there. But if you think this is the best route, we will take the liability and make it happen. and see how it works out. And so that's been a huge blessing. So we do have food. This past year has been a little rough with our food situation. All of our frozen food comes from Publix, and our freezer is pretty bare right now. So hopefully on Monday morning, Publix will have a lot of frozen food for us. But it's been really neat to see how God provides when we're low and we're getting nervous, and then God brings in people with food donations. We're able to help. Our senior adults right now are really struggling. Their senior boxes have been a little less impressive from the government than normal, and so we've been kind of having to give them more food than we typically do because they've been hurting. But all in all, God has been very good to us, and we've made a huge difference. This year, we've given out 90,000 pounds of food. Let's see.
I got the slip here. Good luck
See?
seeing you.
We give 90,000 pounds of food. Last year, for the whole year, we gave out 150,000 pounds.
Wow.
We typically will take a little dip in the summertime, and then we'll have more bigger families come in, and then starting August, because parents spend all their money on back to school supplies and getting their kids ready for school, we will have some of our biggest food needs come in this month because of that. Christmas time, we don't feel it as much because we have so many programs that do Christmas gifts. So you're not going to feel it as much as August. We do have a lot of needs. So we'll have back to school free school supplies, but they don't typically have the exact needs that the actual class needs, or back to school clothes and all that stuff. So they take a hit. So this month, I think when I left there, and I left 30 minutes early the other day, we had 35 clients in 3.5 hours. And that's a good, we try to not have more than 40. Because at that point you're just transactional, right? And so we've been doing that the last 3 times, I think. We have about 800 families, individual families this year, with over 3,000 members in that since yesterday, when I did the report yesterday. And then our utilities have actually gone down. So we've only helped 115 families with utilities. Last year, for the whole year, we helped 194 clients. A lot of that is utility prices have gone up. And so by the time they come to us, they're at like $3,000 for utility bills. And they have to pay their portion before we can pay our portion. So they're really struggling. So I think that's one of the problems. To fix that, we may end up going up on how much we give so that they can do their portion. And then our rent and mobile and mortgage, we've seen probably 6 mortgages. So they're about to foreclose on their home. That's not common. So if you own a home, that's going to be their last thing. We've seen more of that this year than we've ever seen before. And I don't know if that's going to go up with Scout and all these other homes come up, and so we're looking at figuring out if we can raise that amount in that line item to meet those needs. And then our hotel stay, we have decreased hotel stay to only 3 people this year. And that is because we were seeing with Scout coming in and all these housing places go up, they clear the land, and a lot of our homeless encampments are in those properties. And so when they clear the land, then they scatter and they're looking for their next place. And so we were seeing them last year just take a little more advantage of us than we were willing to do. And the homeless encampment are different than homeless people. So when you're looking at the encampment, you're thinking of more drugs, more violence. When you're thinking of homeless people, you're thinking of individuals staying different places every night or having one little camp. Totally different. We're night and day kind of folks. The homeless encampment, you're more have the police number on the front desk, and you have your Narcan and stuff ready for when that land gets moved. So y'all would never know you had a homeless encampment in the woods until they clear the woods, and then you find out. So they'll come with us, and they're figuring out their new place. So we made hotel stays very minimum so that we could keep on moving on, because we would spend all of our money on hotel stays for folks that weren't getting back on their feet. They were just waiting for a new place to stay. And we've helped the other homeless person we helped was a man who had some medical needs and some medication that he wasn't taking, and he was homeless. And we walked with him for a good 2 weeks until we found a family member that came and reunited him, took him to his doctor, got prescriptions, and we were just there, just holding the line until someone else could come. So we do a lot of things in our short period of time that we're there. Food just gets them in the door. And through that, we can kind of get to know them and find out their needs. And then we can kind of meet their needs. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, here's the food, here's the utility costs, but like, let's look at this budget one more time. Why does your 40-year-old son live with you and not pay rent? Like, let's talk about that. So some of the times it's like calling the 40-year-old son on the phone that the mom can't do and say, your mom needs help. What can you do, right? So some of it's like that. That's my favorite thing to do. They usually call me in for that conversation because I thoroughly enjoy it. But it's a good time. So do y'all have questions about CAP or y'all's partnership?
So the lady that was abused, would you refer her to like sister care or?
We did. We actually referred a couple people to sister care, and they actually responded right away. She was not willing to go to sister care after she found out a few of the requirements, and for this particular person, I feel like to say she was going to sister care was admitting that she was abused. And at the point of conversation, she wasn't there yet. We did all the paperwork so that when she left, after she had the few days in the hotel, she could go to sister care if she wanted because the room was blocked off for her. But in the office and when I was meeting with her, she was not ready, which is, if you've ever had children, you understand when you know what's best for someone and they're not ready for it. That would have given her a good solid month to kind of get away from the abuser and put some distance for the abuser to kind of emotions to kind of go down. We had another client that went to sister care and she stayed about a week, but it did help because after a week the abuser kind of loses as much steam, and then you can kind of figure out what's next for you. But yeah, it was really frustrating.
What do you see your biggest need as, and what's the biggest need in the community? Tough question.
Right now, I would say a reliable rent. Apartments that are low income, not low income, but just not crazy. So like 1,200 is usually what we're seeing right now, 1,250. And we really need apartments that are less than that.
They're called affordable, and they're very hard to find.
Affordable, yes. And smaller. So in our community, we've been doing these really big, really nice apartments. The problem with big apartments is after 8 years, they're hard to keep up with. So they look really pretty, when they're first built, and then they slowly degrade. And the smaller the apartments, the safer they are. And so for my folks that are typically coming from a lot of trauma, I want them in an affordable, small apartment complex that I can kind of feel good about. I remember moving in a kid that was from foster care years ago to one. She was ready to go out. You can't tell an 18-year-old to stay. And they found the apartment. We're just there to help. And I hated moving her in there. It was not safe. It was affordable, but that's all you got. And I literally begged her, like anything else, like roommate, anything else. But that's our number one problem is we have a lot of apartments. They're just big and they're expensive. They're nice.
First of all, thanks for what you do. Your stories are amazing. You mentioned people hearing cases. You said you hear cases. What kind of staff do you have, or are you the one hearing all the cases? You mentioned counselors and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we have volunteers that will do their budgets and stuff, and they're usually the ones that sit down with them and look at their budgets and kind of figure out what they're going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm usually brought in for the more difficult ones. Either they're going to ask for more money or something crazy, and I'm usually brought in to say, yeah, let's move forward with this, and we can write the bill. There are going to be counselors. To be a counselor, you have to be trained, so you have to come in and watch it a few times. You have to be willing to say, I go to Living Springs, I go to the 8:15 service, come sit with me. Our policy is if you're not willing to sit with people off the hours that you're working, then you're not eligible to have input into their life while they're in front of you, right? Like if I only care about you when I'm working, I probably don't care enough about you to continue this, right? So that's our one requirement, and that's been good. So we usually have counselors that really want to, and you have to be willing to offer prayer. So you can't pray for them. You have to say, "Can I pray for you?" You have to offer it. And so if you're not comfortable praying out loud, until you're ready, they usually come and get me and say, "Okay, can you come in here until I'm ready?" But we have really good. Some of them are former bankers. We probably drive them the most crazy because former bankers are like policy, no change. And so we obviously we can divvy and change all of our policies depending on the client, what we need. So this is our policy, but if it's a real need, then we can work with it. They probably have the most issue with me. And then other ones are like former teachers. We have a former counselor and insurance, a former insurance broker. So just people from all walks of life. They generally are all retired. Retired people are my best people because they want to work but don't want to be confined to work. And they want to be able to have a life, but they want the structure. So they own their role. So I'm the only part-time employee, and I'm the only one that does like the non-fun work, which is reports and grant writing. And they get the fun work of like visiting with clients and stuff like that. So it runs so well because it's run off of retired folks, not just random people walking in.
One more question. Have you gotten any indication, or do you foresee Scout being a partner in the future?
I have not gotten anywhere with that, honestly. I'm wondering if once they get a building up and are not fighting so many construction issues, hiring and all kind of other stuff, if we will be more of a partner. We have had 2 other churches in the Sand Hills area and Gardner's Ferry that would love for us to expand and have some footing in their community as they don't. So we've had some conversations on what happens next. Never leaving Blythewood, but if we can help another group out, start the program or learn from our mistakes, we're willing to look into that. And then we'll be expanding this year for our hours. Eventually we'll be Monday through Thursday. But we'll probably open up on Tuesday this year. And then when Scout is open, we'll be open on Monday through Thursday. They're just going to be bringing in so many people that we predict within the first 6 or 8 months they'll be firing a lot of people. We'll have a lot of need. When you have that many people, you've got to get rid of that many people for fast hiring and stuff like that. So we're optimistic and extremely nervous at the same time. We have been fortunate, Blythewood, that the people that come to us actually legitimately need food. We're not like downtown Columbia, where you have a lot of people coming to everybody's food thing in one day and abusing the system. Most of our clients come 3 times before they're back on their feet. That is not normal for a food pantry. And so we're a little nervous that as we grow so big that we might have more of the issues that a normal food pantry has. So we're just kind of going to see how it goes.
Where all are your service areas? Just Blythewood?
Right now they're just Blythewood. We cover financial need for Blythewood in the northeast area. And I'm willing to see what's next, and if we can help another group or get off the ground, and there's a need. I don't do duplicate services. So if there's a need in that area and there's no one else meeting that need, then. So there's a few things that we do with our grandparents raising grandchildren, that as soon as another nonprofit steps up and takes this on, then we'll release that service. But right now in Blythewood, no one's doing it, so we're doing it. So no duplicating services.
How have you been affected by budget cuts from the federal government and so forth? Does it hurt your,
We do not, partly because I came from Fundraising World, a nonprofit before, and so I refused to get all my funding from one source. And that's probably what has saved us, honestly, because I was a part of a nonprofit that got all their money from federal money and then had to close the doors. And so we are very diversified on the income come in. We've seen some of our senior boxes, there's not enough money in that program, and so there's not enough food in the boxes anymore, so we're having to replenish them. There's not as much food at Harvest Hope right now, and I think because they purchased their food. So I think as they're figuring out how they're working, we purchased it from Harvest Hope, and I think as they're figuring out how their money is going, then they'll get that. So if I went on Harvest Hope right now to go order food, there'd probably be 24 items. Give 3 million last year, there'd probably be like 60 items to pick from. So.
What's a senior box?
Senior box is like this big, and it's the box that has like cereal, oats, canned foods, rice, powdered milk, stuff like that. It's a staple box for our seniors that are low income. You have to be 60 or above in Richland County to get it from us. And then you come every month. And we love that program, mainly because we can build the relationships and kind of, give them more food and help out. So our frozen foods and all that stuff will go with that senior box. And that's why they come. Right now the box just hasn't been sufficient enough. So we are feeling it, but different.
But who's providing the senior boxes?
The Department of Agriculture right now. So Harvest Hope has a contract with the Department of Agriculture. Every once in a while that department gets moved around, so it's a different department. And then they send us 40 boxes. We have 60 seniors that want the boxes, and we get 40 boxes. And every month they tell me they're sending me more boxes. And every month I get 40. So we don't get excited until they actually come, and if it's more than 40, I get excited. So the rest of them come out of basically y'all stuff the bus, y'all's food trucks. The seniors are over that 40 are getting that food.
Can you tell them the zip code areas again? The zip code.
Oh my goodness, I'm the worst. Don't ask a dyslexic person. Okay, I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's Blythewood, the Northeast. We have one group in Elgin. New Spring gave us $10,000 to do an Elgin zip code, and we don't have enough people from Elgin to outdo that one, so we've kept Elgin and then the Ridgeway area. So, and then we have our random, which is someone walked in, they don't really qualify, but like if we fix this one problem, they're back on their feet. Then we'll do that. So, and then of course your money stretches when y'all give it to us because we partner with communities. So let me make sure I got. So like the plumber, if we call the plumber and say, hey, we want to pay for this utility bill, water bill, we can't because they have a leak. They'll go out and fix it for free, and then $1, so it's on their books, and then we can pay their utilities to get it down. So we have a lot of partners that will just call and things happen. And then last we have a $40,000 grant. Praise God, perfect timing. We'll be able to fix our foundation in our building, which means for Christmas time when we get the bulk of our food that we have to survive off of, we will have a place to put it without wondering if my flooring is going to fall in. So if you came into the kitchen, we usually have the food around the sides. Now we'll be able to have a steel beam and it'll be right there. And we'll have windows replaced and all that stuff. So we rent our building from Trinity United Methodist, and we are so grateful that we can be good tenants and take care of our building, because the floor falling in would not go over well with Trinity. And then y'all have to go to church. So one or two more questions that you might have.
So if somebody needs clothing, you refer them to somebody else? You don't collect clothes at all, right?
Mm-mm. I don't like doing my own laundry, and so I don't. No, it's more of bugs and things of that nature. I'm really protective of my food, and so I don't like a lot. So, but pots and pans, anything that's non-porous and doesn't come in a garbage bag, I'm more feel comfortable about. We partner with Trish's Trunk and send all their clothes down there, or she'll come and bring us clothes if it's an emergency. So
Where's that?
it's at Sandy Level, and it's Amy Reitzman that does it, and she's phenomenal.
She's across the street from us.
Yeah. So bring your clothes there because they're incredible. And then any pack and plays that y'all bring to Sandy Level, they actually bring them right to me because I use pack and plays all the time, because it's better for my parents. They're not going to pack up, dismantle a crib every time they move, but they'll dismantle a pack and play. So it's safer sleep that I can guarantee will go with them every time. So Pack and Plays are great.
I know you mentioned the mattress store, on Two Notch, and like Publix gives y'all a lot of food. Like, I like supporting businesses that support, like places like that. So if
Publix,
there's any businesses that you want to give a shout out
Hardscrabble,
to that help y'all a lot.
Phenomenal. I mean, we would be in a hurting if they wasn't for them. Food Lion gives us all of their eggs right now. So if an egg breaks or whatever, it goes in and then we take it and we clean it and we do the eggs. Chick-fil-A on Thursdays gives us all of their food. We love Chick-fil-A. And they do a really good job of keeping their food healthy and safe, which if you've been in my some of the retail stores don't do that. And then Papa John's and Blythewood gives us stuff, and then Aldi gives us stuff. Aldi, they do such great sales that like by the time they get to us, it's not much. But they're very grateful. They're very excited about the food they give us, and so we keep on going to pick up from them. But food, Publix is phenomenal. All right, one last thing. If you know of anyone that needs food, y'all are a partner. So all you have to do is call or text me, or run by the office, and we give you food, and we just put it under your church name. So as long as you're agreeing to minister to the person who needs the food, we step out. So just remember that. Any pastor, anything like that, can just call and text. I give them a code to get in, and they have a box right there ready to go. So there's no reason for any of you to go to the store and go grocery shopping, because that's what y'all already do when you do the stuff at bus and stuff like that. It's just already ready there for you. So just remember, let your pastor know, and I will get you the code, and you can come by and pick it up. So, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.